Alright farmers, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to have a look at which gives the most profit out of the base game crops. So we're not talking about anything going into a production chain. I'm talking about stuff that you can plant and stuff that you can harvest. So that's what we're going to be having a look at. So we're going to run through it all with the seed costs and everything else that you're going to need to get the job done. So obviously we're going to start off with this field here. We've got it fertilised to 100%. It's all been mulched, ploughed, limed, everything done. So what I'll do, I'll go through, plant everything, harvest everything, and we'll come back with some figures and we'll see which one gives you the most profit at the end. So I'll see you in a bit. Right, so that's everything done, everything harvested and everything collected off the field that we could. So what we've got here on the first slide is the startup cost. Because obviously depending on what crop you're doing depends on what equipment you need. So as you can see there, the base cereal crops, shall we say, they all take 240 grand to start up with. So that's your tractor, your trailer, your plough, everything you need, your harvester, headers, everything that you need to do that crop at bare minimum. So that's the smallest ones, the cheapest ones that you can start off with. That's what we're saying with that. That then goes down to the most expensive for cotton, because you've got to have the specialist harvester. The bare minimum that you can spend to do cotton, 669.5 grand. So cotton is the most expensive to start off with. So that's the startup costs. Okay, next up, things that you need to take into consideration is the growth time. So obviously different crops, they grow at different speeds. So you've got from the quickest growing, which is olives, so they'll grow in 4 months, up to canola, which grows in 9 months. Now, depending on whether you're playing with seasons on or not, depends on how many harvests you're going to get. If you've got seasons on, obviously it's 1 harvest per year. If you're playing without the seasonal calendar on, then you're going to get a lot more. It's like olives, you're going to get 15 odd in the space of 5 years, whereas you're only going to get canola 6 times in the space of 5 years. So depending on how you play, depends on what time frames you should go for. So next up, we've got the plant time and harvest time. So this is the time I used when I was doing my tests. So the plant time, I was using the biggest stuff I could get for the particular crop. So the biggest seeder, the biggest planter, whatever. So the ones that can use a normal seeder or planter, they're like 15-18 meter wide. On the one field on the farm that we was doing, most of them took 1 minute 33 seconds. Sugarcane, on the other hand, because it was only the 2-row planter is the biggest thing in the game, took 8 minutes and 28 to plant. Then going over to the actual harvest time, so that includes harvesting and, if where applicable, picking up straw. The quickest ones were going to be canola, sorghum and soybean. So they used like a 15 meter header and it was like 3 passes over the field and done. So 2 minutes 22. Again, sugarcane, because it's only got that one small 2 meter header on it, and because it was so slow, it was ridiculously slow. It took me 21 minutes 32 seconds to harvest the same field. It was ridiculous. So that's also, if you're going for, time per money, that's something else you need to consider as well. It's not just about the money, it's how much work you got to put in to get the crop off the field. Right, so next up, we've got how much we got off the field and the seed cost. So if you look down, the most crop we got off the field was actually sugar beet cut, obviously, because sugar beet cut is just sugar beet cut up, as the name suggests. You got 39,451 off that. The least we got was soybean. We only got 3,071. Now this is all based off of that one field outside the farmhouse on Elm Creek. So we did the same test on the same field. And if you look at wheat, barley and oats, obviously we got 6,000, 6.5, and then just under 4,000. But we also got like 25,000 straw. So when you add that into it as well, that's a little bit different. So then you look at the seed costs, we've got the cheapest ones there, are canola and sorghum. They only use £55, dollars or euros, whichever you're using, to seed the field. The most expensive, now you may turn around and say, oh yeah, whatever, was the olives. 138,840, because you got to plant the trees. Just the same as the grapes, you got to plant the vines. They cost a fortune starting off. Once you've planted them, you haven't got to plant them again. But that's the seed cost. You got to put it in somewhere. You can't just get them for free. So that's how much it would take to get the field going. Right. So let's get into some figures. So we've got the high price here. I've gone through a whole year's worth. I've looked at the different highest prices for all the different months. So these are the highest prices that you're going to get for each individual crop throughout the year. Because obviously, even if you're not playing with a season calendar, the price does fluctuate. So that's something you also need to bear in mind. So for the first year, this is year one. If you're playing on seasons, because you're only going to get one crop per year, you're going to have the most profit out of sugar beet cut, not potatoes. Now, we're going off of this one. I've seen other videos that have said potatoes, but on my test here, I've got sugar beet cut with the amount that we got off the field, with what we sold it at. That is what we've got is the most profit, 24,909. Now, the worst one, and I agree with you, it needs a bit of an asterisk by it, is the olives, because we've got a negative profit of 124,143, but that will all become apparent shortly, because obviously in the first year you need to take into account the amount that you spent. So whilst the others haven't spent a lot on seed, grapes and olives did, so you need to recoup that after the first year. Right, so that is 1 year profit. So if you're running seasons, the most profitable one for you is going to be the sugar beet cut. If we then expand that onto a 5-year profit, things change a little. The worst one then becomes canola. Now it's canola because of how long it takes to grow. I think canola is like 9 months compared to a lot of the other ones. And this is where the potatoes come back in. Because potatoes only take, I think it's about 5 months to grow, you get so many more harvests if you're not playing with the seasonal calendar. So this is the 5-year profit. If you're playing with the seasons, you're going to go from the year 1 profit. It'll be the same all the time because you can only grow 1 crop per year. If you're not playing with seasons, if you've got that turned off, this is where you're going to be looking at, because you can get more harvests in per crop depending on what it is. So over the 5-year no season scenario, canola's the worst, 56 grand. Potato is the best because you can get so many more harvests done in the same amount of time. So 224 grand we can make out of that. But if you look down at grapes and olives, we've gone from a negative 124 for the olives to a positive 81 grand by the 5-year mark. That's because we took the initial costs out of the first year, and everything else is just profit after that, because you haven't got to replant them or reseed them or anything. They're already in the ground. So that's where the grapes and olives pay off on a more longer term perspective. Right, there's one more thing I just want to go through, because obviously potatoes, you know, it's a lot of hard work, it really is. So the last bit I want to cover is this: profit per second worked. So if you go and calculate how long it took us to plant and how long it took us to harvest, and divide that into seconds, and then divide the profit into seconds, bit of maths on the go, we get to this column here. So this is how much profit you're going to make for how much work you put in. So the worst one, as I think we can all imagine, is the sugarcane. You get £7, dollars or euros, whichever you're using, per second that you're working the field. This is you working. It's not taking into account any AIs that you've hired or whatever. This is you doing it yourself. So that's 7 per second. Up to a maximum on the soybeans, you're getting 50 per second. So if you look at the year 1 and the year 5 profits, yeah, they're thereabouts, nothing special. But if you then take into consideration the amount of work you've got to put in, they then come out on top, and quite a bit over some of the others. I mean, quite a lot over the sugarcane, but then to be fair, most come out over the sugarcane quite a lot anyway. But soybeans definitely are the one for a money to work ratio. So there you have it. That is all the information from the tests that I've done. So drop it in the comments below which one that you think is the winner, because obviously depending on how you look at it, you get a different answer. There is not one shortcut answer. If you're looking at straight profit per year, it's sugar beet cut. If you're looking at long term, it's potato. If you're looking at profit per second for your work that you've done, it's soybean. You tell me what you think is the winner. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, it's muchly appreciated. But for me, that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one.